He was absolutely essential on this. My last memory of him was actually very, very recent, because it was on the evening of October the 4th. And where were we on October the 4th? Well, all the Conservatives, and I'm still one, were in Manchester. And Sir David hosted a meeting, a fringe meeting of the Conservative Animal Welfare Foundation. He was a patron of it. I was a patron of it. And he invited as his principal speaker George Eustace. Now, George made a very interesting speech which combined concern for animal welfare with concern for nature, and concern for nature as part of the essential concern for the climate. So he wove it all together. And there we were, the people who founded the Conservative Animal Welfare Foundation, Lorraine and Chris. There was David, there was me, and there were other MPs there who were so heavily involved, like Chris Loder, who's speaking in favour of the Animal Sentience Bill, and Theresa Villiers, and Dominic Raab. You know, they came, they made speeches. Zach Goldsmith wasn't there that night. So what he was is at the heart of a quiet but important branch of the government, which is the animal welfare side of things, and that's what David was pushing. And I'd say, actually, I don't want to sound party political here, because this is a sad occasion, a private occasion. This is an occasion where we're mourning a man who was a friend and a good man. But nonetheless, he was part of a movement which has brought the Conservative Party much nearer, you know, to being a party of animal welfare, a party of environment, than at some times we've been in the past. So he was in the forefront, and it's wonderful to have a chance to say so here today.
Now, one of the things that I keep hearing,
yes,
so from people, his constituents, and literally every person I've spoken to about him, is that he had an amazing smile and his kindness.
Yes, he was kind. He was kind. I wonder if they've got that. If you just have to see it, there's a picture of him, which I have, of him carrying a banner saying "End Trophy Hunting Imports," and that was something which moved him, because he was such a kindly man. This is your point. Yeah. He simply couldn't imagine how people, often rich white people, would go off and get their kicks out of shooting wild animals. And that's why he was pushing so hard. And I was campaigning with him to end the trophy hunting imports. And there's a bill going through Parliament. If it does go through Parliament, let's hope it gets called the Sir David Amess bill.
Yeah. And how important was that to him? Because obviously this is something that he was passionate about. But how important was that as part of who he is? Because even in the pictures, you see him with animals, you see him with his dogs and all that, and he seems like such a compassionate man.
Yes, I would say that if you were to take a long view of his record in Parliament, and you did read up some of the things which he was involved with, for example, the tethering of sows. Would you believe it? I mean, the tethering of sows. There was a time when a sow, I was going to say whelped, but I'm not sure that's the right word for sows. Let's say gave birth to a litter. There was a time when they would be tethered so they couldn't move. He fought to stop that. There are any number of things he did fight for, and I think you mentioned some of them. So yes, I would say that was pretty central to his, as it were, national life. But of course, it was the constituency work which absorbed a lot of his time, and indeed, as you know, as we all know, resulted in his untimely death.
And it's such a tragic thing as well, because he was also a family man, and he had lots of, he's got 5 children.
Yes, well, I know about that.
Yeah. You've got lots of children
I've got
yourself.
one more.
You've got another grandchild, haven't you?
I know. He was a family man. He's such a friendly... Do you know something? I can remember waking up, I can't remember what year it was it 86 or 87, early in the morning, first result of the election. No, maybe it was 92. Maybe it was the 92 election, which the Conservatives expected to lose. And suddenly, first result in, smiling face, and it was Amess for Basildon. Yes, well, no, maybe he moved to Southend by then, getting a muddle now. Whatever it was Sir David being a harbinger, would you believe it, of a Tory victory. And it was a wonderful, cheerful face to see on the screen at that time of the morning, cheerful for so many reasons.
Of course, and he was really loved, because he did, 4 decades in Parliament, and he was continually the MP for Leigh-on-Sea.
Well, he had been Basildon before that. I once used to refer to him as Basildon Bond. I mean, my name's
you?
Bond,
Oh,
Basildon Bond.
yeah.
I tried that joke on him once. Not sure how often he used it at constituency meetings, but still, this is not a time for jokes. This is a sad time. But that said, he did have a light-hearted side, and yes, he had been in Parliament. I think Bill Cash is there with a similar longevity. Roger Gale, I think, but they're certainly, you could number them on the fingers of one hand, I think now.
And one of the comments that one of his constituents made was, even though if you didn't agree with his politics and he didn't agree with yours, he was still able to maintain that wonderful charisma and energy and kindness towards you.
I think that's right.
Yeah.
And if you actually look, for example, at the Fox Hunting Act, which we all remember took
Yes.
the Labour government a lot of parliamentary time to get through. And I don't think the Conservatives gave it a huge amount of support. But one of the people who did support it was Sir David Amess. And I think that he didn't lose any friends on his own side for that either. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
The people well understood where he was coming from, although they may not have understood then where he was going.
Yeah, I think it's a really important skill that we need to, as a country and as a nation, keep that ability to have debate, discussion, but part friends still, and actually agree to disagree.
Yes, well, I've not
well.
been in Westminster. I have been in the European Parliament, where I got to say, friendship was very much part of it. I remember once finding myself sitting next to Jacques Chirac. So I said, "Bonjour, monsieur." And he said bonjour to me, and we shook hands. And I tell you, I felt better for it. You know, I shook hands with a man who very shortly thereafter became the President of France. Well, I think friendship in the Westminster Parliament goes probably much beyond that handshaking facility which you have in Europe. I think they are real friendships, and I think they endure.
Yeah, and I think as a nation we need to sort of try and do that more, because I think if you look at some of the way things are going, sometimes people are so agreeing with each other, but yet are quite hostile. And I think from what I can see, his example was being able to unite even in disagreement.
Well, there's a photograph, I think, which was taken when, just as I say, on the first day of the Tory party conference, and there he is with me and with the Platts and with the other MPs, and you could see the friendliness which he exuded from every pore.
Yeah.
And when I say paw, thinking of the animals, I don't mean P-A-W, although he probably had plenty of dogs who did exude friendliness from their paws, but I mean P-O-R-E.
Yeah. And I heard that he was often late for things, but the reason why he was always late is because he was always stopped by people who were saying, hello, 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 I'm talking to...
Hello. It was probably in the days before, can I have a selfie? But now, were he to walk through our streets, he wouldn't get very far.
Yeah, because he was such a friendly man. And the feeling now, with you and obviously the animal welfare work that you're talking about, you're saying that hopefully they'll name the bill after him.
Well, I think that would be nice. And by the way, we don't want to sound as though I'm profiting from this just to plug causes, but I like to think that he might have said, look, don't let a good death go to waste. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, and to that extent, if I say now that it's not only, of course, the trophy hunting bill which is going through, there's another important bill which the government is about to put to the test, put before Parliament, and that's called the Animals Abroad Bill. And what is that about? It's about all these travel companies who persist in sending their clients, and they will do so more now that COVID is over, to facilities in third countries, particularly like India, where the animals are horrendously abused. I'm talking, for example, about the Asian elephants. I'm on the board of something called the Save the Asian Elephant Foundation. And the Asian elephant is down to 20,000 maybe, but to get an elephant trained, the cruelty which is involved... Anyway, David Amess was one of our supporters, and this bill, which will now come forward, yes, it'll have to fight off the Association of British Travel Agents and so on and so forth, who will say, well, we can't start telling our clients where to go. You can, and we must.
If you could describe him and I know he's so amazing, 3 words, what would you say? How would you describe him?
Friend of everyone.
Friend of
That's
everyone.
what I'd say.
Yeah, he'll be sadly missed.
We will.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Stanley, for talking to me about him.
Pleasure to be here, Nana.
Thank you
so
very
much.
much.
Welcome to the GB News YouTube channel. You can watch us live 24 hours a day, catch up on your favourite shows and join in the conversation in the comments below.
Don't forget to subscribe and you'll never miss any of our exclusive content.